Hi, my name is Shinko. Welcome to my channel. We have been attempting to escape the horrors of real life with The Warriors, Fire and Ice. It is the second book in the series. If you're interested at all, I have previous videos of me reading the first book already. If you like cats and you're just bored, I suggest, hey, it's a really good story. The trigger warning that I will give on this series is that there is life and death. So if you are someone that's squeamish, that can't handle character death, don't read. But it is a very, very, very good story. Very awesome. So we just left off with Fireheart and Graystripe have been struggling with the warrior code. They've been struggling with their loyalties to their clan. Graystripe visiting another clan cat, River Clan, while he's being sick, kind of inevitably brought sickness into the camp. Now, yes, they say green cough comes every winter, but all the same. And Fireheart is just as divided when it comes to his sister, Princess. And then, unfortunately, Cinderpaw got severely hurt trying to meet with Tigerclaw, to which, why was Tigerclaw on the most dangerous part of the Thunder Path and trying to get Blue Star out there? Where was this evidence he spoke of? I don't know about you, but that sounds suspicious to me. Let's get going. We're on chapter 19. In the following days, Fireheart struggled against his urge to visit his sister. His yearning to be with his kitty pet kin was beginning to make him feel uncomfortable. He kept himself busy hunting in the snowy forest, replenishing the camp store. He had a successful hunt this afternoon, returning to camp with 2 mice and a chaffinch as the sun dipped behind the trees. He buried the mice in the snow store and took the chaffinch for his own supper. As he finished his meal, he noticed White Storm padding towards him. "I want you to take Sandpaw out on a dawn patrol," the great warrior meowed. "Shadow Clan has been scented as close as the owl tree." Shadow Clan? Fireheart echoed in alarm. Perhaps Tigerclaw really had found evidence of an invasion after all. "I was planning to take Brackapaw out again tomorrow." "Isn't Graystripe better now?" asked White Storm. "He could take Brackapaw." Of course, thought Fireheart, and perhaps training his apprentice would keep Graystripe away from Silverstream for once. But that meant he would have to go on patrol with Sandpaw. Fireheart couldn't help thinking of the furious look Sandpaw had given him when he interrupted her fight with the River Clan warrior beside the gorge. "Just me and Sandpaw?" White Storm looked at him in surprise. "Sandpaw's almost a warrior, and you could take care of yourself," he replied. White Storm had misunderstood Fireheart's concern. He wasn't afraid of being attacked by enemy cats. He was afraid Sandpaw hated him as much as Dustpaw did. But Fireheart didn't correct him. "Does Sandpaw know?" "You could tell her," meowed White Storm. Fireheart's ear twitched. He didn't think Sandpaw would be too thrilled by the idea of patrolling with them, but he didn't argue. White Storm nodded briefly and bounded away towards the warrior's den. Fireheart sighed and padded over to where Sandpaw was sitting with the other apprentices. "Sandpaw," Fireheart shifted uneasily, "White Storm wants you to patrol with me at dawn tomorrow." He waited for a resentful hiss, but Sandpaw merely looked up at him and meowed, "Fine." Even Dustpaw looked surprised. Okay," echoed Fireheart, taken aback. "Meet you at sunrise, then." "Sunrise," agreed Sandpaw. Fireheart decided to share the good news about Sandpaw's lack of hostility with Graystripe. It might be a chance for them to start talking to each other again. Graystripe was sharing tongues with Running Wind by the clump of nettles. "Hi, Fireheart," Running Wind meowed as Fireheart approached. Hi. Fireheart looked expectantly at Graystripe, but Graystripe had turned his head away and was staring at the boundary wall. Fireheart's heart sank. He dropped his head and turned back towards his nest. He couldn't wait to be out on patrol tomorrow and away from camp. The sky glowed palest pink above Fireheart's head as he pushed his way out of the den the next morning. Sandpaw was waiting for him outside the gorse tunnel. Hi, Fireheart meowed, feeling a bit awkward. Hi, Sandpaw answered quietly. Fireheart sat down. Let's wait for the night patrol to get back, he suggested. They sat in silence until they heard the familiar rustle of bushes heralding the return of Whitestorm, Longtail, and Mousefur. Any signs of Shadow Clan? Fireheart asked. We definitely picked up some Shadow Clan scents, answered Whitestorm grimly. It's strange, meowed Mousefur, frowning. It's always the same group of scents. Shadow Clan must be sending the same warriors each time. You two had better check out the RiverClan border, suggested Whitestorm. We didn't get a chance to patrol there. Be careful. And remember, you don't want to start a fight. You're just looking for signs they've been hunting on our land again. Yes, Whitestorm, meowed Fireheart. Sandpaw nodded respectfully. Fireheart led the way. We'll start at Four Trees and work our way along the border to Tall Pines, he meowed as they climbed out of the camp ravine. Sounds good, replied Sandpaw. I've never seen Four Trees in the snow. Fireheart listened for sarcasm in her voice, but she seemed to be sincere. They reached the top of the ravine. Which way now? Fireheart decided to test her. Do you think I don't know the way to Four Trees? Sandpaw protested. Fireheart began to regret acting like a mentor until he noticed a good-humored gleam in her eyes. She charged away through the woods without another word, and Fireheart pelted after her. It felt good to be running through the forest with another cat again. He had to admit, Sandpaw was fast. She was still 2 fox lengths ahead when she leaped over the trunk of a fallen tree and disappeared. Fireheart followed, taking the tree in a single bound. As he landed on the other side, something hit him from behind. He skidded in the snow, rolled over, and sprang to his paws. Sandpaw faced him, her whiskers twitching. Surprise! Fireheart hissed playfully and leaped on top of her. He was impressed by Sandpaw's strength, but he had the advantage of size. When he finally held her down in the snow, she protested, Get off, you great lump! Okay, meowed Fireheart, letting go of her. But you asked for it. Sandpaw sat up, her orange coat dusted with snow. You look like you've been caught in a snowstorm, she mewed. So do you. They both shook their flanks from their fur. Come on, Fireheart meowed. We better get a move on. They raced side by side, as far as Four Trees. By the time they reached the top of the slope that overlooked the valley, the sky was milky blue. Pale sunlight lit up the snowy hollow. The 4 bare oaks stood below them, glittering with frost. Sandpaw stared down, her eyes wide. Fireheart waited, touched by her enthusiasm, until she turned to leave. I didn't know the snow would make everything look so different, she meowed as they began to follow the RiverClan border toward the river. Fireheart nodded in agreement. Their pace was slower as they traveled in silence along the line of scent markers, alert for any fresh smells of RiverClan this side of the border. Fireheart paused every few trees to leave a new ThunderClan scent mark. Suddenly, Sandpaw stopped dead. Fancy a little fresh kill? She whispered. Fireheart nodded. The apprentice dropped into a hunting crouch and pulled herself forward through the snow. One slow paw step after another. Fireheart followed her gaze and saw a young rabbit hopping underneath some brambles. With a quick hiss, Sandpaw pounced, diving into the brambles and pinning the rabbit down with a strong forepaw. In one smooth movement, she pulled it toward her to finish it off. Fireheart bounded over. Great catch, Sandpaw! Sandpaw looked pleased. She dropped the warm, fresh kill to the ground. Share? Thanks! That's one of the best things about patrols, remarked Sandpaw between mouthfuls.
What?
Fireheart asked. You can eat what you catch instead of having to take it back to the clan, Sandpaw replied. I don't know how many hunting missions I've nearly starved on. Fireheart purred with amusement. They set up again, skirting Sunning Rocks to follow the trail into the woods again, close to the RiverClan border. As they reached the top of the bracken-covered slope above the river, Fireheart sent a silent prayer to StarClan that they wouldn't find Graystripe here. Look! Meowed Sandpaw suddenly. Her body stiffened with excitement. The river! It's frozen! Fireheart's heart lurched as he remembered Cinderpaw saying the same words before Graystripe's accident. We're not going down to look, he meowed firmly. We don't have to. You can see it from here. Let's get back and tell the clan. Why? Fireheart couldn't understand Sandpaw's excitement. A patrol of our warriors could cross the river now, Sandpaw meowed. We can invade RiverClan territory and steal back some of our prey that they've taken from us. Fireheart felt a cold chill ripple the fur in his spine. What would Graystripe think about that? And could Fireheart bring himself to go into battle against the starving RiverClan? Sandpaw circled him impatiently. Are you coming? Yes, replied Fireheart heavily. He leaped after Sandpaw as she raced off into the woods, back to camp. Sandpaw tore through the gorse tunnel just ahead of Fireheart. Tigerclaw glanced up as they skidded to a halt in the clearing. Fireheart heard a noise behind him. Graystripe was padding through the camp entrance with Brackenpaw. A call sounded from below the high rock. Fireheart! Sandpaw! How was your patrol? Fireheart felt a flood of relief when he saw Bluestar looking her normal self, sitting with her chin high, her tail tucked over her front paws. Sandpaw bounded over to High Rock. The river's frozen! She burst out. We could cross it easily right now. Bluestar gazed thoughtfully at the apprentice. Fireheart flinched when he saw the ThunderClan's leader's eyes gleam. Thank you, Sandpaw, she meowed. Fireheart leaned over and murmured into Sandpaw's ear. Come on, let's tell the others. He guessed that Bluestar would want to discuss the frozen river with her senior warriors. Sandpaw glanced at him, understanding, and followed him back to the center of the clearing. This has been such a great day, she meowed. Fireheart just nodded and glanced anxiously at Graystripe. You two look like you've had fun. Dustpaw had emerged from the apprentice's den. Drowned another RiverClan cat? He sneered at Fireheart. Dustpaw looked at Sandpaw expectantly. Fireheart guessed he was waiting for her to agree with him, like she used to. But Sandpaw wasn't listening. Fireheart felt a small prickle of satisfaction at the irritated look on Dustpaw's face as she meowed breathlessly. We found out that the river's frozen. I think Bluestar's planning a raid on RiverClan. At that moment, their leader's call sounded from the high rock, and the clan began to gather in the clearing. The sun had reached its high point, which in Leafbear meant that it was barely above the treetops. Sandpaw and Fireheart have brought good news. The river is frozen over, Bluestar announced. We will take this opportunity to make a raid on RiverClan's hunting grounds to send the message that they must stop stealing our prey. Our warriors will track down one of the patrols and give them a warning that they'll remember for a long time. Fireheart winced as he remembered what Silverstream had told him about her starving clan. Around him, the other cats raised their voices in eager yowls. Fireheart had not heard the clan this excited for many moons. Tigerclaw, Bluestar called above the din. Are our warriors fit enough for a raid on RiverClan? Tigerclaw nodded. Excellent. Bluestar lifted her tail. Then we shall leave at sunset. The clan yowled with delight. Fireheart's paws prickled. Was Bluestar going too? Surely she wouldn't risk her last life on a border raid. Fireheart looked over at his shoulder at Graystripe. He was staring up at the high rock, the tip of his tail twitching nervously. As the yowls died away, Graystripe called out, It feels warmer today. A thaw will make the ice too dangerous to cross. Fireheart held his breath as the other cats turned to look curiously at Graystripe. Tiger Claw stared down at Graystripe, his amber eyes puzzled. You're not usually reluctant to fight, the Dark Warrior meowed slowly. Darkstripe craned his neck and added, Yes, Graystripe, you're not afraid of those River Clan flea bags, are you? Graystripe fidgeted uncomfortably as the clan waited for an answer. Looks like he's scared, hissed Dustpaw from Sandpaw's side. Fireheart's tail flicked angrily, but he managed to keep his voice light as he called, Yes, of getting his paws wet. Graystripe's fallen through the ice once this leaf bear. He's not keen to do it again. The tension in the clan dissolved into amused purrs. Graystripe looked down at the ground, his ears flat. Only Tiger Claw kept his suspicious frown. Bluestar waited until the murmurings had died away. I must discuss the raid with my senior warriors. She leaped down from High Rock, landing so lightly that it was hard to believe that she had been fighting for her lives just days ago. Tiger Claw, Whitestorm, and Willowpelt followed her to her den, and the rest of the clan broke away into groups to discuss the proposed attack. I suppose you expect me to thank you for embarrassing me? Fireheart heard Graystripe's angry hiss in his ear. Not at all, he snapped, but you can at least be grateful I'm still covering up for you. He bounded away to the edge of the clearing, his fur bristling with fury. Sandpaw ran over to join him. It's about time we showed those River Clan cats that they can't hunt in our territory whenever they like, she meowed, her eyes shining. Yes, I suppose so, Fireheart answered absently. He couldn't take his eyes off Graystripe. Was he imagining it? Or was the Grey Warrior edging farther and farther towards the nursery? Was Graystripe planning on slipping away to warn Silverstream? Fireheart got slowly to his paws and began to pad towards the nursery. Graystripe glared at Fireheart as he approached, but before either warrior could speak, Bluestar's call sounded once more from the High Rock. Fireheart stopped where he was, but he didn't take his eyes off Graystripe. Willowpelt agrees with young Graystripe, Bluestar declared. A thaw is on the way. Graystripe lifted his chin and flashed a defiant look at Fireheart. But Fireheart didn't care. Bluestar was going to call up the raid. Now Graystripe wouldn't have to choose between his clan and Silverstream, and Fireheart wouldn't have to join a raiding party against a clan he already knew was suffering. But Bluestar hadn't finished. So, we will attack at once. Fireheart glanced sideways. Graystripe's look of triumph had turned to one of sheer horror. Bluestar continued, We will leave a patrol of our warriors here to guard the camp. We have to remember the possible threat from Shadow Clan. 5 warriors will make the raid. I will remain here. Good, thought Fireheart. She wasn't planning to risk her final life after all. Tiger Claw will lead the raiding party. Darkstripe, Willowpelt, Longtail will go with them. That leaves one more place. Can I go? Fireheart burst out. Even though his heart felt heavy at the thought of attacking hungry River Clan cats, it meant that Graystripe wouldn't have to make a choice. Thank you, Fireheart. You may join the patrol. Bluestar was clearly pleased by her former apprentice's eagerness. Tiger Claw didn't look so happy. He narrowed his eyes at Fireheart, gazing at him with undisguised suspicion. There's no time to lose, Bluestar yelled. I can smell the warm winds myself. Tiger Claw will brief you as you travel. Go, now. Darkstripe, Longtail, and Willowpelt sped after Tiger Claw. Fireheart followed them as they thundered through the gorse tunnel and headed up the ravine towards River Clan territory. They charged past Sunning Rocks and reached the enemy border as the low leaf bear sun began to dip towards the forest. Fireheart sniffed the air. Graystripe and Willowpelt had been right. He could smell warmer winds, and rain clouds were already pushing in over the treetops. As they raced down the slope towards the river, Fireheart felt a deep sense of disquiet. Silverstream's desperate story rang in his ears, and he fought to push away his feelings of sympathy. The ThunderClan warriors emerged from the bracken and skidded to a stop at the edge of the river. The sight that greeted them made Fireheart weak with relief. The shining sheet of ice that Fireheart had seen earlier with Sandpaw had broken up into a rushing flow of cold, black water. Chapter 20. Tiger Claw turned to his warriors, his pale eyes flashing with frustration. "We'll have to wait," he snarled. The patrol turned and began to trudge home. Fireheart sent up a wordless prayer of thanks to StarClan, but there was a bitter taste in his throat. Now he would never know if he could have gone through with the raid. It wasn't only Graystripe he didn't trust. He didn't even trust himself anymore. Fireheart kept silent all the way home. Every now and then he saw Tiger Claw flash a glance at him over his massive brown shoulder. It was a slow journey. The light of the short-leaf bare day was fading when they finally reached the top of the ravine. Fireheart waited for the other warriors to pick their way down first. By the time he padded through the gorse tunnel, Tiger Claw was already explaining to the disappointed clan that the river had thawed. Fireheart skirted the edge of the clearing, looking for Graystripe. He needed to know if his friend had slipped out of the camp. Instinctively, he headed for the nursery. As he approached the tangled mass of brambles, he heard a familiar meow. Fireheart! Fireheart felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps Graystripe was actually grateful he had offered to take the final place in the raiding party. He followed his friend's voice into the shadows behind the nursery. Fireheart meowed quietly into the gloom, but he couldn't see Graystripe anywhere. Suddenly, something crashed into his side with a mighty thump. Fireheart spun around, all his senses alert. He saw Graystripe with his hackles raised, silhouetted in the dimness. Graystripe lunged again. Fireheart ducked just in time as Graystripe swung a wide gray paw at his ear. "What are you doing?" Fireheart spluttered. Graystripe flattened his ears and hissed. "You didn't trust me! You thought I would betray ThunderClan!" He aimed another swipe. This one caught the tip of Fireheart's ear. Pain and fury shot through him. "I just wanted to save you from having to make a choice," he spat. "Although it's true that I'm not sure where your loyalties lie right now." Graystripe flew at him and knocked him backwards. The two cats tussled, claws unsheathed. "I make my own choices," Graystripe snarled. Fireheart struggled free and leaped onto Graystripe's back. "I was trying to protect you." "I don't need protecting!" Blinded by anger, Fireheart dug his claws into Graystripe's pelt, but Graystripe split Fireheart over, and together they rolled out from behind the nursery. The cats in the clearing sprang out of the way as the two young warriors bundled into them. Fireheart yowled with rage as Graystripe bit his foreleg. He thrust upward with a claw and raked Graystripe above the eye. Graystripe retaliated by lunging downwards and sinking his teeth into Fireheart's hind leg. "Stop this at once!" Bluestar's stern yell made Fireheart and Graystripe freeze. Fireheart released his grip on Graystripe and shuffled painfully sideways. Graystripe backed away, his fur bristling. Out of the corner of his eye, Fireheart saw Tiger Claw snarling with barely suppressed delight, curling his lip back to reveal his teeth. "Fireheart, I want to see you in my den now," Bluestar growled, her blue eyes flashing fire. "Graystripe, go to your nest and stay there." The rest of the clan melted away in the shadows. Fireheart limped after Bluestar to her den. He kept his eyes fixed on the ground, feeling worn out and confused. Bluestar sat down on the sandy floor and stared at Fireheart in disbelief for a moment. Then she meowed angrily. "What was that about?" Fireheart shook his head. As furious as he was, he could not reveal his friend's secret. Bluestar closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "I realize feelings are running high in the camp right now, but I never expected to see you and Graystripe fighting. Are you hurt?" Fireheart could feel his ear and hind leg stinging, but he shrugged and murmured, "No." "Are you going to tell me what this is about?" Fireheart met her gaze as steadily as he could. "Bluestar, I'm sorry. I can't explain." "At least that much is true," he thought. "Very well," meowed Bluestar at last. "You two can sort this out on your own. The clan is facing a difficult time, and I won't tolerate this sort of infighting. Do you understand? Yes, Blue Star, Fireheart answered. There you go. Blue Star nodded, and Fireheart returned and slunk out of her den. He knew he had let his old mentor down, but there was no way he could confide in her. Last time he'd done that about Ravenpaw's accusation against Tiger Claw, she hadn't believed him. And if she believed him this time, he would be betraying his best friend. Feeling sick with worry, Fireheart crept across the clearing and slipped inside the warrior's den. He settled into his nest beside Graystripe and curled himself into a tight ball. He lay there unmoving, aware of Graystripe's tense body beside his, until sleep finally overcame him. Fireheart awoke early the next morning. The sun hadn't risen yet, and the clearing was empty as he padded across to Yellowfang's den. He wanted to see Cinderpaw. Yellowfang was asleep, curled up beside Brindleface's sick kits. They squirmed quietly in their nest, their eyes closed. Yellowfang was snoring loudly. Fireheart didn't want to wake her, so he crept over to Cinderpaw's nest and peered in. The little gray cat was asleep as well. The blood had been washed from her fur. Fireheart wondered whether she had cleaned it herself, or whether Yellowfang had washed it off. Fireheart crouched beside Cinderpaw and watched her breathe. There was something calming about the way her sighs rose and fell. She seemed much more peaceful than when he had last visited. He stayed with her until the dawnlight filtered through the ferns and he heard the clan begin to stir. Fireheart got to his paws. He leaned into Cinderpaw's nest and touched her sides softly with his nose. As he turned to leave, Yellowfang stretched and opened her eyes. Fireheart! I came to see Cinderpaw, he whispered. She's doing well, meowed Yellowfang, pushing herself up. Fireheart's eyes clouded with relief. Thank you, Yellowfang. When he reached the clearing, Tiger Claw was addressing a group of warriors and apprentices. He spotted Fireheart straight away. Nice of you to show up, he growled. Graystripe's just joined us too. He's been having a word with Blue Star. Fireheart glanced at his friend, but Graystripe was staring at the ground. The other warriors watched in silence as Fireheart hurried over and sat down beside Sandpaw. During this thaw, the woods will be alive with prey, Tiger Claw meowed. They'll be hungry after sheltering in the burrows. This will be a good chance to catch as much as we can. But there's still fresh kill in the snow store, Dustpaw meowed. It'll be crow food soon, Tiger Claw told him. We need to take every opportunity to hunt. As leaf bear goes on, the prey will start to disappear, and what stays around will be too thin. The warriors nodded in agreement. Longtail. Tiger Claw turned his eyes on the pale tabby warrior. I want you to organize the hunting parties. Longtail nodded, and Tiger Claw got up, padded towards Blue Star's den. As Fireheart watched him disappear through the lichen, he couldn't help wondering if the leader and deputy would discuss his fight with Graystripe. Longtail's voice summoned him away from his thoughts. Fireheart, you and Sandpaw can join Mousefur. Graystripe can hunt with Whitestorm and Brackapaw. It's probably best that I'll put you two in the same group. Amused purrs rippled through the group, but Fireheart's eyes narrowed angrily. He comforted himself by studying the nick he had left in the pale tabby's ear when Longtail had taunted him his first day in camp. Good fight last night, Mousefur rasped beside him, her eyes gleaming with mischief. It almost made up for missing a battle. Fireheart scowled as Dustpaw added, Yeah, nice moves, Fireheart, for a kitty pit. Fireheart gritted his teeth and looked at the ground, sheathing and unsheathing his claws. The two groups left the camp together as the hunters filled up the trail out of the ravine. Fireheart looked at the sky. The rain clouds he had seen rolling in last night had covered the sun, and the snow under Paw was turning to slush. Mousefur led Sandpaw and Fireheart through tall pines. I'll take Sandpaw with me, the brown warrior told Fireheart. You can hunt alone. Meet us back at camp at Sunhigh. Fireheart couldn't help feeling relieved at the thought of being alone. He stalked away through the trees, still hardly able to believe that he and Graystripe had fought so bitterly. Fireheart felt lost and alone without his old friend. Though he barely recognized him anymore, he wondered if they could ever be friends again. It wasn't until he felt the softness of leaves beneath his paws that Fireheart realized he wandered all the way to the oak woods that backed onto the Two-Lake place. Instantly, he thought of Princess and wondered if his paws carried him to her two-leg nest for a reason. Fireheart made straight for a fence and called softly down into the garden. Then he jumped back into the woods and waited in the undergrowth for his sister to come looking. He didn't have to wait long before there was scrabbling noise on the fence, and he smelled her distinctive scent. Fireheart was about to leap out and meet her when he smelled a second, unfamiliar scent. The bracken rustled, the princess appeared. In her mouth, she carried a tiny, pure white kit. As Fireheart pushed his way out to meet her, she meowed a warm greeting through the bundle of fur in her teeth. The kit was very small. Fireheart guessed it would not be weaned for another moon. Princess cleared away some slush with her paw and laid it gently down on the leaves. Then she sat down and wrapped her thick tail around it. Fireheart was overwhelmed with emotion. This was his own kin. Kitty Pet born, like he had been. He walked quietly over to Princess, nestled a greeting, then bent down and sniffed the kit. It smelled of warmth and milk, strange, but somehow familiar. Fireheart gave it a tender lick on the head, and it mewed, opening its pink mouth to reveal tiny white teeth. Princess looked at Fireheart, her eyes shining. I have brought him for you, Fireheart. Her eyes, she meowed softly. I want you to take him back with you to your clan so that he could be your new apprentice. Chapter 21. Fireheart stared at the tiny kit. I never expected, he began. He dragged his gaze away and stared wordlessly at his sister. My housefolk will choose where the rest will live, Princess went on. But this is my firstborn, and I want to decide his future. She raised her chin. Make him a hero. Please, like you. The unsettling sense of loneliness that had been dragging at Fireheart for so long began to ebb away. He pictured the white kit among the clan as he showed them the ways of the forest, hunted by his side through the thick ferns. At last, there would be another cat in ThunderClan who shared Fireheart's kitty pet roots. Princess tilted her head. I know how upset you were about your apprentice. I thought if you had a new apprentice, one who's your own kin, you wouldn't feel so lonely. She stretched her neck and rested her nose against Fireheart's side. I don't understand all of your clan ways, but seeing you and hearing you talk about your life, I know I would be honored if my son was brought up as a clan cat. As the first flare of happiness settled inside him, Fireheart thought of the rest of his clan and how desperately they needed fighting cats. Cinderpaw would never be a warrior now. And what if the Green Cock took more lives than just Blue Stars? ThunderClan might need this kit. He was suddenly aware of the rain clinging to his fur. The kit needed shelter, and soon. It looked strong, but it was still too small to withstand the cold and wet for long. I'll take him, he meowed. This is a great gift you've given to ThunderClan. I'll train him to be the finest warrior the clan has ever seen. He dipped his head and scooped up the kit by a scruff. Princess' eyes shone with gratitude and pride. Thank you, Fireheart, she purred. Who knows? Maybe I'll even become a leader and be given 9 lives someday. Fireheart gazed fondly at her trusting, hopeful face. Did his sister really believe this might happen? Then a twinge of doubt pricked him. He was taking this tiny kit back to a camp infected by green cough. What if he didn't make it to the New Leaf? But the cozy scent of the kit under his muzzle soothed him. This kit will survive. It was strong, and it shared his blood. Fireheart took a deep breath. He must be quick. The kit was getting cold already. He blinked a farewell at Princess and raced away into the bushes. I'm going to end it there. Oh, I was excited. I was so excited when I was planning this video out for you guys because another kit. So this kitten, this little white kitten would obviously be Fireheart's. Well, okay, it's not a big spoiler. The Kitzel boy is going to be Fireheart's nephew. So, wow, that's big. A lot happened. ThunderClan wanted to attack RiverClan. Well, not attack RiverClan specifically, but send a message. At the same time, now Fireheart and Graystripe are fighting each other. Well, and now there's a new kit coming to the camp, but how do you think this is going to be explained? The kit is most likely going to smell like a kitty pet because of where it came. Do you think this kit will be accepted? It took Fireheart a long time, and even then, there's still some cast that don't fully trust Fireheart. Do you think this kit will be accepted, or will Fireheart be forced to take this kit back home? Will he be forced to take his nephew back home? Well, I don't know. I guess we will find out next time. So, the only thing that I wanted to really point out, okay, something new. Sandpaw sure is acting a lot friendlier now. If you remember, from the very beginning, since the first book, Sandpaw and Dustpaw are around the same age as Fireheart and Graystripe, but Fireheart and Graystripe got their warrior names first. Dustpaw and Sandpaw never liked Fireheart. It's a kitty pet, someone to bully, make fun of. Well, ever since Fireheart interfered with her fight, she's actually being nicer. I wonder, do you think Sandpaw may have realized that it could have possibly been her that lost her life at the gorge and not poor White Claw, that RiverClan warrior? She seems friendly now. Do you think they're going to be friends? Do you think Sandpaw is going to be a new friend for Fireheart? I guess we'll find out. I hope you are having a wonderful day. Please be safe out there in this crazy, mixed up universe of ours. Bye.